Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us. It's fine, but very, very cold Thursday morning. Hope everyone is doing well and staying safe as well today. So, since we are a good number, so we should be able to start. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kaniero. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. And during these webinars, we as a Forex team, we identify, or at least we analyze the markets early in the morning. We identify what trading opportunities we're looking at taking for the day, and we do share that analysis with you. So as usual, we do have John in the back office, so he's here to assist in whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. But remember, if you'd like me to address any questions, feel free to ask those questions in the Q&A section. You don't need to wait till the end of the webinar. You can ask midway, and I will still be able to address them. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, start off with me seeing my screen. So once it's clear, let's obviously start with the pairs of interest in terms of our watch list. So yesterday, our bias was looking for buying opportunities on the Swiss franc as well as the British pound and mixing and matching them with the pairs on the sell side. That's the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the New Zealand dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, as well as the Australian dollar. Now, today, there's just been one slight change. You can see we still have the Swiss franc and the British pound on the buy side. However, we have now moved the Australian dollar as well to the buy side. So we'll be focusing on these three pairs, and we're going to mix and match them with all these pairs on the sell side: the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the New Zealand dollar, the euro, and the Japanese yen. So before we do jump on today's pairs, let's end up having a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. We'll look at a few screenshots that we didn't manage to get, then we will jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities, and you can see how aggressive the market really came to the downside. Remember, we did have these three areas that we had pointed out, looking for potential selling opportunities. Now, at 9 and 10 o'clock, just when the market was opening, it was just within this particular bias area. Remember, we did mention if we can get the price breaching and holding below, we should be able to look for a selling opportunity. You can see there was a slight pullback that did come in later, but remember, we always point out, you do end up going down to a smaller time frame, especially let's say for here, this situation, the 3 minute, to see how that market actually ends up breaking a level. You can clearly see exactly what happened. Once the price came to the downside, you can see there was a pullback. This was just after the London market did open. And you can see that did give us a nice selling opportunity to take the price down lower. Then you can see the price did continue going down quite aggressive. Now, during even the US session, unfortunately, the price was just already just grinding to the downside. So getting this, or at least jumping in on this later on, might have been a bit difficult, but you can see the market really did come to the downside. Unfortunately, today is not a pair that we're going to be looking at because we did have some Australian dollar fundamentals, and you can see that Australian dollar strength that did come in during the Asian session. And that's the reason why this pair is going to be off our watch list for today. So the next pair for review, so they're not necessarily that many. We also did have the British pound against the Australian dollar. Similar situation, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Remember, we did have some fundamentals during the Frankfurt market open yesterday at 9 o'clock, similar to today, where we had some British pound fundamentals coming out. And that's when the market started taking off at 9 o'clock from this particular buyer's area. So by the time we're having a look at this pair, price was already within the seller's area. So we wanted either a pullback to come in a bit lower, at least towards some sort of support resistance before you were able to look for the buy, or waiting for a breach and a pullback. A similar situation, like we had a look at on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. We do go down a smaller time frame. This situation, like the 3 minute time frame, we can be able to see a lot more detail of how levels are actually being broken or if they are. So you can clearly see the first time the market probed, but later on, from 10 o'clock, that's when the market did manage to break this area to the downside, confirm that the price was holding above. So you could have been able to take a buying opportunity within that particular area. And you can see the market did continue going to the upside throughout the London session. Unfortunately, during the US session, you can see once 3 o'clock came in, the market did not necessarily move anywhere. Similar situation, the Australian dollar strength that did come in based on some fundamentals early in the morning, and you can see that strength to the downside. So even though this market might still move to the upside, but it sounds as I could end up just possibly entering some sort of range, not necessarily any clear direction. So that's the reason why for today, the British pound against the Australian dollar is going to be off our watch list. Now, that's it for the review pairs. Not necessarily that many because it was only the Australian dollar that did end up moving, and those were the two pairs that we're looking at yesterday. So before we do jump on to today's pairs, let's just have a look at a few screenshots that we didn't manage to get. There were not that many. It was George Chege who did manage to grab some buying and selling opportunities here. So you can see here on gold, this is, I guess, on the 1 minute time frame. You did manage to grab a selling opportunity. You can see the price coming down in your favor. You did manage to end up taking a profit down there. But one thing I would advise, remember, we always say buy with buyers and sell with sellers. When the price was going up within this particular area, you can see it came back down towards a buyer's area. So you did end up jumping in on your selling opportunity rather than waiting for the market to come back within an area where sellers have reacted from before. You can see that was a probe, and we always mention once you see a probe, wait for that pullback. So if you didn't manage to grab an entry here, and your stop loss would have still been within that particular area, you can see even by the time that the price, or at least you close this trade right here, you'd have really got some very, very high risk to reward, even if it was just on the 1 minute time frame. So just make sure you're trying to buy with buyers and sell with sellers, but otherwise have to see your trade worked out quite well, and very good job on this trade, George. So also next, you did manage to grab a buying opportunity on oil. Can see you did manage to grab a small buying opportunity right here once the market started reaching to the upside. Good thing you are managing your trade within problem areas. Once the price gets to a problem area, I'm saying you're closing some of your position. As it goes up higher, you're closing a bit more and letting your trade run. So at least you're making sure that you're securing your profit. So very, very good job on this trade, George Chege. And thank you for sending in your screenshots as well. Happy to see you've been sending them in every day, and we're liking that consistency. So keep it up. And remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. So let's jump on to today's pairs. So as usual, we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, do the same thing with the British pound as well as the Australian dollar before we do have a look at gold, silver, as well as the indices. So starting off with the Swiss franc against the Canadian dollar. Now the Swiss franc pairs really did show a lot of strength yesterday. You can clearly see this is a pair that we're looking for selling opportunities yesterday, and you can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. Similar situation, this market from 10 o'clock, once the London market did come in, we did get the price breaching and holding. That confirmation did end up happening on the 3 minute once the price held below. So there was a selling opportunity, and you can see the markets really did come down very aggressive to a new low. So today the buyers here, we're still going to be looking for selling opportunities. And we have identified 3 areas that we're looking for those sells. So we have a buyer's area right here at the bottom. You can see these buyers have managed to stop these strong sellers from coming down. And we can see a pullback that's starting, which is a good sign for us, because remember, in order for us to sell, we want to sell at a higher price. And if we want to buy, we definitely want to buy at a lower price. So in this situation, we're hoping to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in. Right now, the pullback is coming in slowly, which is a good sign for us. Hopefully, we can end up getting the price approaching this particular seller's area before we're able to look for selling opportunities. But be aware, due to the fact that the market really did move quite aggressive, this is possibly based on a higher time frame. You can see how aggressive the market moved. So we could end up pulling back to certain support and resistance areas. This is a level we identified based on a higher time frame. So wait to see. So as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Remember, if the price is able to break this support and resistance area to the downside and holds below, similar situation to what happened yesterday, you should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, I hope that's clear on the third CHF as we move on to the next Swiss franc pair, which is the US dollar against Swiss franc. Similar situation, you can clearly see the 3 areas that we had pointed out yesterday. Now we're looking for selling opportunities, and you can see the area that we had pointed out. We'd also mentioned that there was some small buyers area here that we should have watched out for, because the price was holding within that area. But the fact that we did end up reaching this level to the downside and the price was holding below, that did give us some opportunity to look for selling opportunities. And at 10, that's when the prices really did take off to the downside. You can see a similar situation. You can just quickly go down to the 3 minute time frame. And the fact that you see it's not a fluke where when we keep on mentioning that we should wait for the market to breach and hold below. So you can see once the price did breach the downside, the price was holding within this area. It wasn't jumping straight back in to confirm that it was a probe. So there were some small selling opportunities at that point in time as well. And you can see the way the market really did work out coming down, at least coming very aggressively to the downside. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. Similar situation to the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. We have approached an area where they're buyers, so we're expecting some sort of pullback, which is what we're coming in, or at least identifying right now. So hopefully we can end up getting these pullbacks coming in a bit deeper. So either within this area or within also the red support resistance area. Ideally, similar situation. If we can get the price coming back in, hopefully we do end up inciting a few more buyers before we're able to look for sales. That would be good. But if we are able to get the price just breaching this area to the downside, and on the pullback, we do get the price holding below, we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities as well on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Can end up be reading this more detail on a smaller time frame. But right now, what you might find is that it's just pulling back within this small support resistance area, and the buyers still are able to come up a bit higher. So this don't necessarily look like those big aggressive sellers that we'd be looking for. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So the aggressive sellers area was right there at the top. Initially, when we were discussing this price, the price was within a bias area. So that wasn't a good place for us to look for selling opportunities. We needed to either wait for a breach to the downside and for price to hold below. Remember, I did tell you that watch out for this particular bias area. Could end up easily finding the price end up reacting within that location. But it seems the price did manage to break that area quite aggressive, did get a small pullback towards that area. We're hoping to see a bit more of a pullback, or at least getting when the price did end up holding below for us to look for selling opportunities. Unfortunately, this one was a bit tough to get, even though the market still did manage to come down very nicely during the London session. During the US session, there were some small pullbacks that did come in, maybe giving us some small trading opportunities there based on much smaller timeframes, but it would have been a bit harder to get. And it seems the main moves did start. You can see from 10 o'clock, that's when the huge moves did start coming to the downside. Once the US market came in, we can see the price did start slowing down. However, today, buyers here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So identify three similar areas. You can see the correlation coming in with all these Swiss franc pairs and the amount of strength that the Swiss franc pairs did end up showing. So wait to see what ends up happening. Right now, hopefully we can end up getting the price approaching this particular area for us to look for selling opportunities. But it's a similar situation, even though we keep on mentioning these particular areas. We also point out if you're looking for buys, buy with buyers, and if you're looking for sellers, sell with sellers. So right now, if you identify, there's some small sellers area right here. Now the market has reacted multiple times. Can't even see a probe that happened right there. We'll wait to see if this is confirming that the price is holding below. But ideally, since we're so close to the buyer's area, it's not a good place to look for your selling opportunities just yet. Let's hope to see either the breach to the downside ends up happening, the pullback confirming that the price is actually holding below for us to continue looking for sales, or let's end up waiting for this pullback to come in a bit higher up within the support and resistance area, because at least by that time, all these people who are looking for selling opportunities, especially if someone is jumping in on a sell right now, the stop loss is just above this area, not realizing that the price could still pull back towards the support and resistance area before we do see the price coming to the downside. So let's wait and see what ends up happening, either breach to the downside or a pullback, or ideally you can be able to use the correlation on the Swiss franc pairs. Have a look at all of them. If you do end up seeing something similar coming in on all of them, or at least a pullback, you could end up knowing that it's not your time to look for yourself. So if you see the big boy sellers starting to come in, then you know possibly there could be some potential trade setup on either pair that you'd be able to look at. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, moving on to the next kind pair, we do have the euro against the Swiss franc. Similar situation. In this situation, our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out yesterday. Now, it's a similar situation. From 10 o'clock, you can see that's when the market did manage to break this area to the downside. There was a small hold below, which we could have actually been able to look for a selling opportunity. But if you didn't end up missing that trade, you can see once the price did break this area to the downside, you did get the price pulling back. This is around midday or so. So still during the London session. So remember, even the fact that we're dealing with both the euro and the Swiss franc. And remember also pointing out that when there are fundamentals coming out. So yesterday we did have some euro news that was coming up at 12 o'clock. And that's possibly the reason why you can see the market did end up taking off, at least giving us that pullback and managing to continue going to the downside throughout the London session, as well as during the US session. So you can see from 3 o'clock, we still did get a slight pullback, or if you waited for a breach to the downside, you can see once the price is holding below this area, you can see the price continue coming down low. So today, you can see the similar correlation with all these Swiss franc pairs. Our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So we watch out for these three areas. So the buyer's area right there, we can see the pullback, which is starting out. So we wait to see what ends up happening there. We do have some sellers A right there in the middle, as well as the main sellers right here at the top. So as long as we're holding below this main sellers A, our bias is to look for selling opportunities. Right now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Similar correlation with all these other pairs. We're so close towards this particular buyer's area. So let's wait to see either, a pullback that ends up coming in. We see the price actually holding within that particular area for us to look for selling opportunities, or we could end up waiting for the price to actually break this area to the downside. Once we do see that and the price holds below, we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities on the euro against the Swiss franc. So hope that's clear on the game plan. Not really much for us to do now except for either wait for that pullback or the price to break that particular area. So moving on to the next and last Swiss franc pair we do have. Now here we have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, if you realize yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities where the price had just broken this particular area to the downside. So we wanted to see either this was just approved where the price comes back in and holds above, or if we did get the price coming back towards the buyer's area. Now it did look as if it did manage to break this area down lower. It was holding below, but it never actually ended up taking off. Can see later on, which it might have been a bit difficult to get. Around 1 o'clock, the price did manage to actually start coming to the upside. Now, this problem area still ended up holding, and you can see the ideally what we're hoping for, this breach and hold to the upside. Not once has the market been able to do that. You can see how many times it's attempted to do that. Price came down lower, but it did give us another opportunity during the Asian session. But if you realize, we do seem to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. So we have some sellers right here, as well as some buyers right here at the bottom. Remember, as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. The main problem area we do have right here is at the top, right there at the top right. But we also have a problem area right here, where you can see some sellers did end up reacting. So even if you do manage to get the price breaching and holding above, so if you do get this particular story where the price is able to break this area to the upside and actually hold above, not like any of these situations, even though you can be able to target all the way at the top, make sure you do manage some of your trade within this problem area. So you never know whether or not the sellers could come back in, but hopefully we could end up getting the price going to the upside. But remember, as we did point out yesterday, the yens weren't really the best, or at least there could still be some more government intervention. And we did end up seeing a lot of strength coming in on the Japanese yen, even though that wasn't really based on the fundamentals or anything. That's why we did mention do trading with caution. So remember, we did point out when two pairs are showing either strength or two pairs are showing either weakness, you will find the markets ranging. And that's why a lot of the time we don't mix pairs that are on the same side. So hope that's clear, at least on the game plan of the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So as you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to do the same thing with the British pound pairs. So here we'll start off with the British pound against the Canadian dollar. You can see the amount of strength that did come in with the British pound pairs. And the news, or at least the movement, started at 9 o'clock once the Frankfurt market did open. So the market did manage to break this area to the upside. This the pair that we're hoping to see. And the market was actually going to end up giving us a pullback and the price holding above. It seems that, remember when we were discussing this earlier in the morning, that it might have already done that. We're hoping to see that the price coming in a bit lower, but it seems that the British pound was really showing a lot of strength. In similar situation, the Canadian dollar was showing weakness, so we hardly got any pullbacks, and the prices did continue going to the upside. So today, even though we did end up missing that one, today our bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. I know they are a bit wider, but just based on how the market is moving and the volatility, we could still end up expecting the markets to end up reacting within one of these problem areas. So the way to see right now, we can see the sellers are coming down. If you compare how the buyers came up in comparison to how the sellers are coming down, definitely the sellers are much slower. So we wait to see at what point in time will buyers actually come back in. So if we do see this price coming back and holding below this area, let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price approaching this particular buyer's area before we're able to look for the buy. But alternatively, if we don't see that this level is still holding, because remember, even though the price looks as if it's breaking this area to the downside, it could easily just be a probe where the price comes back in. You see the price slowing down and holding above, then you should be able to also look for a buy opportunity then. But right now, we'll wait to see at what point in time the big boys will be actually interested in buying this particular pair. But overall, let's wait to see what ends up happening, because you can see also on the 1 hour time frame, after the price did end up breaking this major support and resistance area. The fact that we've not tested it before, or at least after breaking, it could still pull back that area before we do see the price going up. And that's the reason why we always say be patient, or at least wait to see at what point in time the buyers are actually going to come back in and show some interest as well. So I hope that's clear. The British pound against the Canadian dollar. As we move on to the next British pound pair, here we have the British pound against the US dollar. Similar situation yesterday. Our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the price was within the seller's area yesterday when we were discussing the market, but you can see the price didn't manage to break and hold above. So remember, if we do go down to the smaller time frame, so in this situation, the 3-minute time frame, you can see once the breach did end up happening within this particular area, the price did manage to pull back and hold above, and this was just after the London market did open. If you look at the time down there, it's around 10:18 to 10:20 p.m. AM. So there was a nice buying opportunity then. Now, if you did miss that, it was unfortunate because now once the price got to the US market, you can see from 3 o'clock, that's when the pullback actually did start coming in. So overall today, the buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we focus on these three areas. As long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our buyers is to look for buying opportunities. You can see the prices does seem to be holding within this particular buyer's area. You know, the sellers are coming down a bit aggressive. This could be some sort of influence where similar situation in the British pound against the Canadian dollar, where all those people who are jumping in on buys, all their stop losses must be below here. So if the price comes down and stops all those people out, guaranteed many people who now biased will switch to the sell side, and they've not yet confirmed that that level has actually been broken. So you could easily find the market probing, and when you do see that, then you should be able to grab a buying opportunity as well on the British pound against the US dollar, making sure to manage our trade within this problem here, right here at the top. But for now, let's be patient. These sellers are coming in a bit too aggressive, but let's see what happens, whether or not some big boys are going to show up. And remember the market opening times, 10, 3, and 4:30. Those are the times that you could find this market actually taking off. So hope that's clear in the British pound against the US dollar. We move on to the next British pound pair. So in this situation, we have the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. So yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Price initially, when we're discussing this market, was just holding below this particular support and resistance area. So remember, we said we either want a pullback to happen, or if the price is able to breach this area to the upside and hold above, we could look for buying opportunities, which you can see the price did end up working, or at least the price did hold above. So if you did look for a buying opportunity, there was some potential trade available there. You can see the market did end up approaching close to where this main seller's area, but unfortunately not all the way. But now today, you can see the price did manage to give us a pullback, does still seem to be holding within this particular area. So we'll pretty much be following the same look, or at least areas that on this kind of pair. So still looking for buying opportunities, aggressive buys all the way down here at the bottom. The chances of it getting here are a bit low. But you can see all those people maybe who are jumping on buys might have ended up getting stopped out by this huge spike. Or many people starting to jump in on sells. Then you can see how easily the price has come back in. So right now, if you do see the price, the same way it's coming down slowly, and the price holds above, we might end up finding the price actually taking off from this particular area. And if we are able to get the price managing to break this area to the upside, and we do see the price holding above, then we should be able to look for another buying opportunity once the price does hold above this particular area. But for right now, let's wait to see what kind of pullback comes in. And if you do manage to get the buy, make sure to manage your trade within these problem areas. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. So right now we'll move on to the British pound, the euro against the British pound. Now, yesterday, our bias on this kind of pair was to look for selling opportunities. You can see how aggressive the seller started out from the Frankfurt market open once that British pound fundamentals did come out yesterday. And the market did come down quite aggressive. So you can see the illustration that I had pointed out here, mentioning that once we did get the price giving us that pullback, whatever that pullback came in and we see the price holding below, ideally, if we are able to look for selling opportunities there, make sure to target the particular low, because this is what, as we mentioned, called the guaranteed profit zone. Anything after that is not necessarily guaranteed, not necessarily knowing how far the market is actually going to go. So in this situation, the price did end up holding below, coming down lower, only managed to get to that same particular low before the buyers started coming in. And this was around 3 o'clock. So the US big boys had some other interest in this kind of pair where it managed to come to the upside, held above, and you can see the pullback that did end up coming in. But today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities on this kind of pair. as long as we're still maintaining within the same levels, so the bars is still the same. So aggressive sellers right there at the top, not necessarily too sure if we'll get there, because it seems that we could potentially be in some sort of range. And remember, we did mention that when it ranges, the markets do like spiking a lot. So just because the price looks as if it's above this particular area, don't be surprised that it ends up actually coming back in and holding below for you to be able to look for those selling opportunities. But for now, remember, as long as we're holding below the red support and resistance area, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities on this kind of stuff. So hope that's clear. As we move on to the last British pound pair we do have. Excuse me. Now, on this kind of pair, unfortunately, the buys, since we're looking for buying opportunities yesterday, they did not work. Because remember, when we're discussing this price, or at least this market earlier in the morning yesterday, the price looked as if it was breaking this area to the downside. We wanted to get confirmation to see whether or not the price is actually going to fall below, or at least give us some sort of probe that could give us some potential buying opportunity. Fortunately, it did not manage to come down, at least held below. So we wanted to see what happened in the next problem area. But you can clearly see the market just managed to break that area to the downside. On the pullback, it confirmed that this level has actually been broken. So right at that point in time, it did end up falling off our watch list, and you can clearly see if you are still looking for buys, it would have been a bit difficult for you to actually grab those buys. But today, since the fundamentals are still the same, we have approached a major support and resistance area. So we'll be still looking to see if we can grab those buying opportunities. We're happy to see the way the buyers and sellers are reacting. You can see the way the price came down. Buyers have come up quite aggressive. When you compare how the sellers are coming down here, they do seem to be struggling quite a bit. So we'll wait to see whether or not we could end up potentially grabbing a buying opportunity within this particular area right here, potentially grabbing a buy right there, making sure to manage your trade within this problem area. If you get the price breaching and holding above, then maybe looking for a buy, making sure to manage our trade within this next problem area. But similar situation with the other yen pairs, I would advise maybe just trading it with caution, either reducing your risk, because you never know what could end up happening. As I mentioned yesterday, there could be some sort of interventions that do end up coming in. But overall, our bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area. So I hope that's clear for all the British pound pairs. As you can see, we mix and match the Swiss franc as well as the British pound with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to do the same thing with the Australian dollar pairs. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Apologies, this cold has really come in. So here we'll start off with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Brand new entry in our watch list, and here we will be looking for buying opportunity. You can see the strength that did come in today morning. That was mainly because there was some Australian dollar fundamentals. We have approached an area where they're sellers, and if you realize the market structure, we do seem to be in some sort of range. So obviously, we would not necessarily advise you to start looking for sells here as well, just because we're ranging. Because overall, you can see how the strength of the buyers coming in and the lack of interest from the seller. So I wouldn't be surprised, yes, the market could potentially pull back. Hopefully, it does come all the way to the bottom, but you can see we have some small support and resistance areas there that the price could end up reacting from. But ideally, there's most likely this level will be breached to the upside. And when we do see that and the price holds above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities, making sure to manage your trade within this problem area. You can see the problem with not waiting. The problem with not waiting for the price to actually break a level and hold. You can clearly see situations like this. If you look for your buying opportunity and the price never held above, you have easily just lost some money, which would have been unnecessary. So there's no point of putting your hard-earned money into such risks. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting this buying opportunity within one of these areas of interest. So let's see what ends up happening on this pair as we move on to the next currency pair. So here we have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Similar correlation if you realize the other currency pair that we have looked at. Here we do seem to be in some sort of range. But remember, even as we point out ranges we always mention buy at the bottom, sell at the top. But also, it's the fact that the way the market moves, it never just goes straight down, then goes straight to the upside. There's always some sort of transition. So you can clearly see if we were looking at the way the market was coming down within this particular area, can clearly see the sellers coming down. We do seem to be trending to the downside. But once it starts slowing down, we start seeing the market potentially ranging before hopefully we end up seeing the price breaking to the upside and going above. Ideally, there's something called a rollover phase where the markets don't just necessarily move up. You'll always see the trend going strong, you'll start seeing it slowing down, entering into some sort of range before you do see the market now gaining momentum to go to the opposite side. So that's what we're hoping to see here. The Australian dollar pairs had been showing a lot of weakness, but right now the fact that they're struggling to break these lows, we're starting to see aggressive buyers coming in. Wait to see what ends up happening. Either breach the upside of this level, could end up looking for that hold above, and that buy would end up giving you some nice risk reward through the upside. So wait to see what ends up happening on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now, moving on to the next Australian dollar pair, we do have the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Similar correlation, as you can see, the transitioning that's happening. And even here, we end up looking at the way the market, when it transitioned from going to the upside to the downside. It's a similar situation from a trending market going to the upside quite nicely. Then it ended up into some sort of range, bouncing between levels before the market did manage to break to the downside. So right now, we could potentially be in that transition phase again, where we could easily find the market starting to go through the upside. So similar situation as the other Australian dollar pairs. We still look for those buying opportunities based on these three areas. Aggressive buyers all the way down at the bottom. So as long as you're holding above this red support resistance area, our buyers will be to look for buying opportunities. Also, based on even this market structure, if technically speaking, this price does manage to come down lower, ideally, it's still giving you lower lows and more highs. So there's no point of you jumping in on a buy when the market is clearly trending to the downside. So in this situation, we wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully, do get that price reaching this area to the upside. See the price holding above. We should be good to go to look for those buying opportunities as well on the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So moving on to the next Australian dollar pair we do have. Here we have the euro against the Australian dollar. Now, in this situation, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. Remember, here in this situation, the Australian dollar is the counter currency. So here we will be looking for selling opportunities. And you can see that strength that did come in on the Australian dollar pairs. So we have seen all of them. So in this situation, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. We'll be looking for sales as long as we're holding below that red support resistance area. We have an area, or at least a support resistance area that could give us some issues here, as well as some buyers down here. So overall, even if you were to say that this is just based on a pullback coming in, and that's the reason why, because overall, this market has been going to the upside quite a bit. But we do have major support and resistance areas that have been broken that have not been tested yet. So this could just be pullbacks coming back within those areas. But right now, if we do seem as if we're breaching this level to the downside, and we do see the price confirming that it's holding below, we should be able to find some nice selling opportunities. Make sure you manage your trade within this comment area, because this is definitely an area that could give you issues. If the price is able to break and hold below this location, then we should be able to continue looking for sales, but watch out for all these buyers that are coming down, right? But overall, the bias definitely here is to look for selling opportunities on the euro against the Australian dollar. And in terms of fundamentals, there's not necessarily that much today. Well, at least there is some euro meetings, some euro group meetings, so nothing much during the London session. However, during the US session, we do have some euro fundamentals. So watch out for that. During the US session, we could end up seeing a lot of volatility on the markets. So last but not least, we do have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. This parity pair, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. So watch out for these three areas. So aggressive buyers down here at the bottom. We do have some sellers right here at the top, and we have a problem area right here as well. So overall, you can see this market has been coming down quite aggressive, but you can see the aggressive buyers that did come in for the Australian dollar pairs. So overall, you can see once the price has breached this area, you can see the buyers has pulled back. We do seem to be holding above, so we could definitely end up looking for some buying opportunities, but we do need to make sure we manage our trade within this profit area, as well as watch out for certain areas like this. You can see this is an area where sellers have reacted from before in terms of the pullback. You don't know how they're going to end up reacting within this location. So let's see what ends up happening, but overall, we definitely want to catch a buying opportunity. Hopefully, we can end up getting a small pullback coming in, getting the price within this particular area for us to look for those buys. If we do get the price breaking this area to the upside and holding above, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities as well on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So I hope that's clear for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we'll mix and match all of them, at least all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to have a look at gold and silver, as well as the indices as well. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Can see, we're hoping to see if we could end up getting a pullback, since based on these three areas that we had highlighted, a pullback towards this support and recent area for us to look for sells. Unfortunately, that just missed, but later on, once the price didn't manage to come to the downside, you can see the price pulled back, held below, so that gave us a nice selling opportunity to come down low. And you can see the price really did come to the downside. So that did give us some very nice risk reward, or at least some good pips if we did manage to have those selling opportunities. So, excuse me. So today, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities on the NAS 100. Similar situation to yesterday. Overall, you can see after the market has come down, we do seem to be getting a pullback, which is what we want. We don't necessarily want to start looking for sales at such a low price, especially if you own a number of items. You definitely want to be able to sell things at the highest price to make the most amount of money. You don't sell them at such throwaway prices. So in this case, if we want to sell, let's hope to see if we can end up getting these pullbacks coming in. If it comes in within this area and probes and hold below, we should look for selling opportunities there. But remember, if this level doesn't hold, we should be still looking for sales as long as we're holding below the red support and resistance area. As long as we're holding below that area, we should definitely be able to look for sellers. And if we do go up to the 1 hour time, you can see based on this huge move that came to the downside, the pullback could come back to this support and resistance area. So don't be surprised the price approaches all the way to the red support and resistance area for us to end up looking for selling opportunities on the NAS 100. So I hope that's clear on the NASDAQ. As we move on to the next currency pair we do have, or at least indices. Here we have the Dow Jones, and yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the buys worked out pretty well. So the market didn't end up giving us that pullback during the London session. The price held throughout the whole London session, but at 3 o'clock, between 3 and 4:30, that's when the price was holding within this buyer's area. That did give us a buying opportunity. Now, if you didn't miss that trade, remember we do point out, wait, if you do miss a trade there, wait for the breach to happen, and that pullback, when the price comes in and holds above, that should give us a buying opportunity, which you can see it did as the price continued going up higher. So today, the bias, we're still continuing with the overall upwards flow of this market. So we're definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities, and we've identified these three areas of interest. So right now, where the price is at, we're at the seller's area. So no buying opportunity just yet, but happy to see the way the seller is coming down quite slowly, so which is a good thing for us. So hopefully we can end up getting this pullback coming in within this one of these problem areas for us to potentially look for some buying opportunities to come in. But let's wait to see what ends up happening there, either within this support and resistance area or similar situation as we've looked at the NAS 100. After that huge move to the upside, there's this huge support and resistance area where the price could still pull back to before we're able to see those buying opportunities coming in. So wait to see what ends up happening. But right now, let's wait for that pullback or that breach to the upside. And remember, if you see the price holding above, you should be able to continue looking for those buying opportunities. So I hope that is clear on the Dow Jones. So let's move on to the fan favorites. So silver. So silver yesterday did play around with us quite a bit. So overall yesterday, we did look for buying opportunities and we started looking for buys based on a few buyers that did end up pushing the market. But unfortunately, it seems that the sellers still kept on holding that market. Because remember, we were within some sort of range. We saw the buyers coming up and we thought, okay, they're probably holding above and we should end up looking for a buy. At least these seem to be the main buyers, because we did have the red support and resistance area right here where the buyers did push to the upside. But it seems that the big boys had something else in mind, because you can see once the price broke this area to the downside, remember, I wanted to see whether or not we could get the price coming back in and holding above. You can see on that pullback, the price really confirmed that it was holding below. And at 4:30, you can see the price really broke to the downside. Now, similar situation, if you didn't miss that, or at least since we were looking for buying opportunities at that time, once the price broke the red support and resistance area to the downside, you can see there was a pullback that did come in, confirming that that level has been broken. That is an area where you could have actually been able to look for selling opportunities, because at that point in time, we knew the buyers who are mainly pushing up are no longer there. It's the seller's market, or at least the seller's time. And you can see they really did manage to continue coming to the downside. So overall, on silver, our bias unfortunately has changed again, but here we'll definitely be looking for sells based on this red support and resistance area. So overall, we'll be seeing if we can end up getting this pullback coming in, this is a major support and resistance area. Hopefully, we can end up pulling back towards that location, making sure to manage our trade within this problem area. Obviously, if the price is able to continue coming down lower, breaks and hold below, we should be able to continue looking for sales. But for right now, if this level doesn't hold, that doesn't mean it's already a buy. We'll watch out to see once this red support and resistance area is breached to the upside, that's when we'll switch. Remember, we always point out if we're holding above the red support and resistance area, we'll be looking for buys. And if we're holding below the red SNR, we will be looking for selling opportunities. So I hope that's clear on silver. So moving on to the next and last pair that we do end up having a look at, which is gold. So gold yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. There were some small buys that didn't end up happening during the London session. Then see holding within this small bias area. So from 10 o'clock, we didn't manage to go up. And similar situation, also at 3 o'clock, we did struggle a bit to go to the upside, approaching this main seller's area. But by the time the price was within that seller's area, it was around 4:30. And you can see the pullback did end up coming in. But similar situation, even though it did come in, you can see the illustration that we're hoping to see yesterday. It's like that's what ended up happening today morning or so, where the price did manage to actually probe within this area, come back in, and it does seem to be moving to the upside. So remember, the level, since nothing has changed really, we'll still be focusing on the same levels. So aggressive buys right there. So as long as we're holding above the red SNR, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. Now we have this major SNR here as well, where you can see the price has given us a probe. Even though that is the case, let's hope to see if we can end up getting this price giving us some sort of pullback, showing us the price is holding above, so we can end up looking for a buying opportunity there. In similar situation, we need to make sure we manage our trade within this problem area. Since the bad sellers have reacted from this area before, they could end up reacting from that location again. But if the price is able to break this area to the upside and the price goes above, then we should be good to go to look for those buying opportunities on board. So I hope that is clear for all the current pairs. As you can see, this is our watch list for today. We'll mix and match all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. In terms of fundamentals, we did point out there's nothing else that's going to be changing during the London session. So pretty much the watch list will remain the same for now. So I guess that is it for all the pairs. So let me see if I can address any questions on the Q&A section if there are any. Not seeing much, which is okay. That does at least give us a few minutes to end up jumping onto the charts, or at least analyzing to see what pairs of interest could end up moving. Remember, the British pound and the Swiss franc pairs look pretty nice. Let's wait to see. At least the Swiss franc pairs, at least then they're on their pullback. The British pound pairs, let's see how they come in. Hopefully, we'll see how they end up reacting within those problem areas. So I guess that is it from me and from us. Apologies so much. I do have a small cold that's coming in. This cold has really gotten to me, but hope everyone stays safe, stays well today. And yeah, I guess that is it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. God bless, happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.